All right, let's go ahead and get started. Coach Kevin here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me go ahead and get into my screen and share some things with you folks that will be helpful today and going forward. For those of you that are here for the very first time, welcome. Glad to have you here. We've been doing this for about 2.5 weeks or so, and we're going to continue on having fun, offering value, learning things, and manifesting more money and wealth into our lives. First thing I want to share with you is we have a Facebook group that coincides with this particular meetup. It has the exact same name. It's called I Want to Be Really Rich, and I do not apologize for it. The only difference between that and your meetup is it had the city initials next to it. This one obviously doesn't, because this is for all the cities that are participating. So I want to be really rich, and I do not apologize for it. Come find us. You can also find us at facebook.com/groups/ I want to be really rich. Now, why do you want to join us? First of all, a place where we can interact with each other outside of the 45 minutes or so we have Monday through Friday. So a place where we can interact or post questions and help each other out. The other thing that we can do here and that we do here is, as long as I remember to record each day, which I try to do, and so far I have, I will take the recording and put it in here. So first of all, sometimes we have announcements, so the announcement might be posted towards the top. As you can see right here, 11/26/2020, that was yesterday, Thanksgiving. So there is that. And here is what we're going to be studying today. So the other reason to come along with us and be part of the Facebook group is where you can access the different files and books and things that we will be in the process of going through time over time. I'll be adding those in here, and that will give you the opportunity to download and have a copy of your own. So hopefully, again, please join the Facebook group, because if you're not part of it, you won't have access to all the materials that we're using. So we are going to today go through a short book called It Works. You can see right here, this is where you can go get it if you want to. I've gone ahead and already downloaded it, so I have it available. This is the same copy that you guys will be having, and starting on page 2 of this PDF, the book It Works. This one was published around 1927 or so. So the way the author speaks here is a little different than the way we talk to each other today, but it is in English. Okay, so hopefully you understand everything. I think it's pretty clear. It's just a little more quaint, maybe the way people were speaking at the time, right? A little more proper, and maybe adjectives and descriptions are a little different. But don't worry about that. That's not what's most important about this. What is important about this is, in my opinion, what I would consider this particular book, short book, to be, is the Reader's Digest version of how the law of attraction works in manifesting more money and wealth in your life. Truthfully, you could take this book with you anywhere that you go. You can go find it on Amazon really easy as a paperback, and it's small. It's not a big book. It actually comes kind of small, almost pocket sized. So it's easy to take along with you, very easy read, and a really good reminder of the key points that help you with the law of attraction. I don't believe the words law of attraction are even in this book. I can't even remember the number of times I've either read this book or listened to it on audio, but I'm going to say at least 50, if not more. So definitely familiar with it, really enjoy it, and recommend that you go download this copy. And maybe, again, if you want to, go get one off of Amazon somewhere and carry it around with you. Okay. So other than that, I'm going to hop in right now. Okay, so for those of you that are new with us, how do things function? First of all, if you type things into chat, I'm not going to be paying attention to that while I'm doing any of this reading and sharing with you guys. When I'm reading and sharing with you guys, I'm going to be reading the particular thing that we're studying and taking apart and going through, and then adding my own commentary. And then what I like to do is leave some time at the end, usually around 15 minutes or so. Sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 20. Just depends on what it is that we were studying on a given day. By the way, we will start next week on something that won't just be a thing we go over for a day, but what we'll be going over probably for a week to a week and a half or so, which are the laws, not just the law of attraction, but the different laws that govern us manifesting money and wealth in our lives. So that's the intention for next week. I've got something really cool to share. We'll go into that. But again, I wanted to give you something. If you were to actually follow what is in this book, it works without question in your mind and without doubt in your mind, and you just actually do what the author is going to suggest that you do. He's going to give you very specific, simple things to do. If you would do that and you were 100% trusting, had 100% faith in it, you actually wouldn't really have to do anything else. Now, it's because of our subconscious programming and our cynicism and lack of faith and belief in things that we have to go reprogram ourselves to allow ourselves to manifest a lot of money and wealth in our lives. But if you were just kind of an open book and said, okay, give me a simple, short way to go make things work, if you were to follow what's in this book with zero doubts that it would work, guess what? The title is exactly what it means. It works. So here we go. A clear, definite, common sense plan of accomplishment with rules, explanations, and suggestions for bettering your condition in life. I think that's a pretty good promise, right? If that's what this book actually can do for us, I think that is pretty cool. A clear, definite, common sense plan of accomplishment. It has the rules, the explanations, and suggestions for bettering your condition in life. The author sent the manuscript of this book for criticism to a friend. He wanted to be critiqued, who returned it with the notation, "It works." This judgment, born of experience, was adopted as the title of the book. If you know what you want, you can have it. The man who wrote this book is highly successful and widely known for his generosity and helpful spirit. He gives full credit for all that he has accomplished in mastering circumstances, accumulating wealth, and winning friends to the silent working out of the simple, powerful truth which he tells in his work. He shows you here an easy, open road to a larger, happier life. Knowing that the greatest good comes from helping others without expecting praise, the author of this work has requested that his name be omitted. Now, they have figured out who the person was, and his initials at least are on the book somewhere, and somebody figured out his last name is Jarrett, but it was something where the author himself was not wanting necessarily credit for sharing what he's sharing. What is this real secret of obtaining desirable possessions? Let me get a quick sip of water here. Excuse me. Are some people born under a lucky star or other charm which enables them to have all which seems so desirable? And if not, what is the cause of the difference in conditions under which men live? Many years ago, feeling that there must be a logical answer to this question, I decided to find out, if possible, what it was. I found the answer to my own satisfaction, and for years have given the information to others who have used it successfully. From a scientific, psychological, or theological viewpoint, some of the following statements may be interpreted as incorrect. But nevertheless, the plan has brought the results desired to those who have followed the simple instructions. And it is my sincere belief that I am now presenting it in a way which will bring happiness and possessions to many more. If wishes were horses, beggars would ride, is the attitude taken by the average man and woman in regard to possessions. They are not aware of a power so near that it is overlooked, so simple in operation that it is difficult to conceive, and so sure in results that it is not made use of consciously or recognized as the cause of failure of success. Gee, I wish that were mine, is the outburst of Jimmy, the office boy, as a new red roadster goes by. And Florence, the telephone operator, expresses the same thought regarding a ring in the jeweler's window, while poor old Jones, the bookkeeper, during the Sunday stroll, replies to his wife, "Yes, dear, it would be nice to have a home like that, but it's out of the question. We will have to continue to rent." Landon, the salesman, protests that he does all the work, gets the short end of the money, and will someday quit his job and find a real one. And President Bondum, in his private sanctorum, voices a bitter tirade against the annual attack of hay fever. At home, it's much the same. Last evening, father declared that daughter Mabel was headed straight for disaster. And today, mother's allowance problem and other trying affairs fade into insignificance as she exclaims, "This is the last straw. Robert's schoolteacher wants to see me this afternoon. His reports are terrible. I know, but I'm late for bridge now. She'll have to wait until tomorrow." So goes the endless stream of expressions like these from millions of people in all classes who give no thought to what they really want and who are getting all they're entitled to or expect. If you're one of these millions of thoughtless talkers or wishers and would like a decided change from your present condition, you can have it. But first of all, you must know what you want, and this is no easy task. When you can train your objective mind, the mind you use every day, okay, the conscious mind, to decide definitely upon the things or conditions you desire, you will have taken your first big step in accomplishing or securing what you know you want. And most people will not, or well, they can, okay, they will not decide. That's why we had the discussion yesterday about decision. Decision is a huge, huge key. And by the way, go into the Facebook group and find the file. If you missed yesterday, listen, please, please, please go back and listen to yesterday's recording and get yourself a copy of the material we went over yesterday. Huge, hugely important. To get what you want is no more mysterious or uncertain than the radio waves all around you. Tune in correctly and you get a perfect result. But to do this, it is, of course, necessary to know something of your equipment and have a plan of operation. You have within you a mighty power, anxious and willing to serve you, a power capable of giving you that which you earnestly desire. The power is described by Thomas J. Hudson, PhD, LLD, author of The Law of Psychic Phenomena, as your subjective mind or your subconscious mind. Other learned writers use different names and terms, but all agree that it is omnipotent. Therefore, I call this Emmanuel, God in us. Regardless of the name of the great power or the conscious admission of a God, the power is capable and willing to carry to a complete and perfect conclusion. It should say every instead of every earnest desire of your objective mind. But you must be really in earnest about what you want. Occasional wishing or half-hearted wanting does not form a perfect connection or communication with your omnipotent power. You must be in earnest, sincerely and truthfully desiring certain conditions or things, mental, physical, or spiritual. Your objective mind and will are so vacillating that you usually not only wish for things and the wonderful capable power within you does not function. Most wishes are simply vocal expressions. Jimmy, the office boy, gave no thought of possessing the red roadster. Landon, the salesman, was not thinking of any other job or even thinking at all. President Bondum knew he had hay fever and was expecting it. Father's business was quite successful, and mother, no doubt, took home first prize from the bridge party that day. But they had no fixed idea of what they really wanted their children to accomplish, and were actually helping to bring about the unhappy conditions which existed. If you are in earnest about changing your present condition, here is a concise definite, resultful plan with rules, explanations, and suggestions. So this is the part, guys, that you and I, this is what we work on, okay? This is what we do to make it happen. Write down on paper, in order of their importance, the things and conditions you really want. Let me repeat that. Write down on paper, in order of their importance, the things and conditions you really want. Do not be afraid of wanting too much. Go the limit in writing down your wants. Change the list daily, adding to or taking from it until you have it about right. Do not be discouraged on account of changes, as this is natural. There will always be changes and additions with accomplishments and increasing desires. The 3 positive rules of accomplishment. Number 1, read the list of what you want 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night. How many of you actually do that? Some of you have done it for a while, but how many have you done it 365 days in a row? Probably nobody on this call, including myself. I haven't done it always 365 days in a row, and I've manifested some pretty cool and amazing things. But how many of you have done this? Okay, you've been probably told to do something similar, but how many of you do it for a few days? How many of you do it for a few weeks or a few months? Most people don't even get that far. So that was number 1. Number 2, think of what you want as often as possible. Number 3, do not talk to anyone about your plan except the great power. And I know you've been told a lot of different things around this. He's going to explain this a little more. Okay. So number 3, do not talk to anyone about your plan except for the great power within you, which will unfold to your objective mind. So your subconscious will bring to your consciousness through the formless substance we've talked about, through inspiration and revelation and intuition that comes from God. Okay. It will unfold to your objective mind, your conscious mind, the method of accomplishment. It will tell you the next step, the first step, the next step, the steps to take to receive what you want. It is obvious that you cannot acquire faith at the start. Some of your desires, for all practical reasoning, again, because you're trying to be practical about it and logical about it, may seem positively unattainable. But nevertheless, write them down on your list in their proper place of importance to you. See, we fight that. So if we can't figure out how to do it, we don't want to write it down. Write it down anyway. Do what he said. He didn't ask for you to do very many things. There is no need to analyze how, and that's what we're always trying to figure out. That's where we get stuck. That's where we have anxiety and fears and worries and doubts and whatnot. There's no need to analyze how this power within you is going to accomplish your desires. Such a procedure is as unnecessary as trying to figure out why a grain of corn placed in fertile soil shoots up a green stalk, blossoms, and produces an ear of corn containing hundreds of grains, each capable of doing what the one grain did. If you will follow this definite plan and carry out the 3 simple rules, the method of accomplishment will unfold quite as mysteriously. And I would agree with that. You're going to possibly be asked to do things, guided to do things by personal revelation, inspiration, intuition that you won't normally have been doing. And it won't even make sense that what you're doing is actually going to help you receive what you want. It's going to seem kind of strange sometimes, but you do it anyway. The method of accomplishment will unfold quite as mysteriously as the ear of corn appears on the stalk, and in most cases, much sooner than you expect. Some of you are going, but I've been wanting it for a long time. Yeah, while doubting. That's what is slowing you up. your subconscious programming, your doubts, your worries, your fears, and everything else. But do it with belief, do it with faith, do it trusting the process, and it can come probably quicker than you expect. When new desires deserving a position at or about the top of your list come to you, then you may rest assured you are progressing correctly. Removing from your list items which at first you thought you wanted is another sure indication of progress. It is natural to be skeptical and have doubts, distrust, and questionings. But when these thoughts arise, get out your list. Read it over, or if you have it memorized, talk to your inner self about your desires until the doubts that interfere with your progress are gone. Most of us don't bother doing this either, right? We don't actually go back to what it is that we want. Remember, nothing can prevent your having that which you earnestly desire. Others have these things. How true is that? Why not you? The omnipotent power within you does not enter into any controversial argument. Yeah, formless substance does not care. Energy and matter, they just respond to your feelings and your thoughts. They don't argue about it. You send them a vibration, a feeling, a thought, they accept it, and they go work towards bringing it towards you. It is waiting and willing to serve when you are ready. But your objective mind is so susceptible to suggestion that it is almost impossible to make any satisfactory progress when surrounded by skeptics. So what do you do about the skeptics? Therefore, choose your friends carefully and associate with people who now have some of the things you really want. Okay. So choose your friends carefully. Okay. And some of you guys don't bother to do this. You really don't. Associate with people who now have some of the things you really want. Get around people that already are living a life very similar to what you want, that own things that you would like to have, okay, that do things you would like to do, that have the amounts of money, income, wealth, and things that you would like to have in your life. Now, this is interesting, but do not discuss your method of accomplishment with them. Really, why not? I don't know if any of you guys have ever watched Shark Tank. If you don't even know what that is, you can find it on cable. I think many of you know what Shark Tank is, right? It's a billionaire and several multimillionaires listening to the earnest sales pitches of people that have startup businesses, or maybe even a little beyond startup. They have businesses and companies, and they're looking for people to invest in those to help them grow. Interesting how you have typically there's 5 people, and not all 5 will want to actually invest in the same things. When the opportunity comes, they all have their reasons for wanting to or not wanting to. Okay. Some of them actually follow their intuition more than others. Some of them try to be more logical than others. Watch that show though, and you will find that yes, occasionally they all would like to participate in a particular investment, and they don't always all get to. Once in a great while they do. But more often than not, whatever investor is out there, even if it's a great thing, usually only one or some of the people will actually want to invest in that particular thing in that scenario, because they all have different thoughts and feelings about the person or the people that are involved with the business and how that interaction might run. And they all have different thoughts and feelings about their ability to add value, but also they have their thoughts and feelings and their own prejudices, not necessarily about somebody's race necessarily or background, but there's just sometimes a general, unfortunately, dislike for something somebody may have said or did that turns them off. So be around people who have what you want, but don't go telling all of them your method of accomplishment, because some of them will agree and some of them actually won't. typically the ones that won't agree, it's not because they're not actually applying the laws. They may be doing it very competitively, which Wallace Wattles talked about in our studies several days ago in The Science of Getting Rich. And if they're doing it in the competitive way, they may not understand the creative method for doing it. But what some of them are also is they're what we call unconscious competent. They know they're successful, but they don't fully know how they got there. So they don't realize how they've been actually following some of the laws of the universe, which has brought them the wealth and money that they want. So if you go telling them how it is that you're going about doing it and they disagree, they're going to rock and shake your tree. And then you won't receive the inspiration, revelation, and intuition that you need to move forward to receive what it is that you really want. Okay. So again, choose your friends carefully, associate with people who now have some of the things you really want. Just don't talk to them about your method of accomplishment. We're able to talk with each other because our group here collectively, we're pretty much on the same page and we have similar belief in how this will all come about. Okay. Put down on your list of wants such material things as money, home, automobile, or whatever it may be, but do not stop there. Be more definite. If you want an automobile, decide what kind, style, price, color, and all the other details included when you want it. If you want a home, plan the construction, grounds, and furnishings. Decide on location and cost. If you want money, write down the amount. If you want to break a record in your business, put it down. It may be a sales record. If so, write out the total, the date required, then the number of items you must sell to make it. Also, to list your prospects and put after each name the sum expected. This may seem very foolish at first, but you can never realize your desires if you do not know positively and in detail what you want and why and when you want it. If you cannot decide this, you're not in earnest. You must be definite, and when you are, results will be surprising and almost unbelievable. A natural and ancient enemy will no doubt appear when you get your first taste of accomplishment. This enemy is discredit in form of such thought as, it can't be possible, it just happened to be. What a remarkable coincidence. When such thoughts occur, give thanks and assert credit to your omnipotent power for the accomplishment. By doing this, you gain assurance and more accomplishment. And in time, prove to yourself that there is a law which actually works at all times when you're in tune with it. Sincere and earnest thanks cannot be given without gratitude, and it is impossible to be thankful and grateful without being happy. Therefore, when you're thanking your greatest and best friend, your omnipotent power, for the gifts received, do so with all your soul and let it be reflected in your face. The power in what it does is beyond understanding. Do not try to understand it, but accept the accomplishment with thankfulness, happiness, and strength and faith. Caution. It is possible to want and obtain that which will make you miserable, that which will wreck the happiness of others, that which will cause sickness and death, that which will rob you of life. You can have what you want, but you must take all that goes with it. So in planning your wants, plan that which you are sure will give to you and your fellow man the greatest good here on earth, thus paving the way to that future hope beyond the pale of human understanding. This method of securing what you want applies to everything you are capable of desiring, and the scope being so great, it is suggested that your first list consists of only those things which you are quite familiar, such as an amount of money or accomplishment, or the possession of material things. Such desires as these are more easily and quickly obtained than the discontinuance of fixed habits, the welfare of others, and the healing of mental or bodily ills, because those are usually deep subconscious things we're having to deal with. Accomplish the lesser things first. But you're like, why? I need this other thing, because it's going to strengthen your faith. Then take the next step. And when that is accomplished, you will seek the higher and really important objectives in life. But long before you reach this stage of your progress, Many worthwhile desires will find their places on your list. One will be to help others as you have been helped. Great is the reward to those who help and give without thought of self, as it is impossible to be unselfish without gain. In conclusion, a short while ago, Dr. M.L. Coué came to this country and showed thousands of people how to heal themselves. Thousands of others spoofed at the idea, refused his assistance, and are today where they were before his visit. So, with the statements and plan presented to you now, you can reject or accept. You can remain as you are or have anything you want. The choice is yours. But God grant that you may find in this short volume the inspiration to choose aright. Follow the plan and thereby obtain, as so many others have, all things, whatever they may be, that you desire. Read the entire book over again, and then again. Memorize the 3 simple rules. Test them now on what you want most this minute. This book could have extended easily over 350 pages, but it has been deliberately shortened to make it easy as possible for you to read, understand, and use. Will you try it? Thousands of better lives will testify to the fact that it works. And a letter from the author. Let's see, what time do we got? Yeah, I'll read it really quick. Dear reader, the great possessions of life are all gifts mysteriously bestowed, mysteriously bestowed. Sight, hearing, aspiration, love, or life itself. The same is true of ideas. The richest of them are given to us, as for instance, the powerful idea which this book has given you. What are you going to do with it? Are you surprised when I tell you the most profitable thing you can do is to give it away? You can do this in an easy and practical way by sending this book to those you know who need it. In this way, you can help in the distribution of this worthwhile effort to make the lives of others better and happier. You know people are standing still or who are worried and discouraged. This is your chance to help them help themselves. If you withhold this book from them, you will lose the conscious satisfaction that comes from doing good. If you see that they get this book, then you put yourself in line with the law of life, which says, you get by giving, and you may rightly expect prosperity and achievement. At the very least, you'll have the inner sense of having done a good deed with no hope of being openly thanked, and your reward will come secretly in added power and larger life. All right. So thanks for spending the time together. This is now the time for you guys to share. If you've had any thoughts, feelings, ahas as we went through this, obviously a very simple book, a short book, one that you could carry around with you very easily, one that he recommends, and I would recommend what he said, go share it with other people. But any type of comments that you've got, any experience you have with doing the things he suggested would be great. Also, if you like, this is a time where you can go ahead and ask questions too. So it's open to you. Just come off mute and go ahead and comment or ask whatever question you like.
I have a comment. This is Francine.
Hi, Francine.
So it boils down to what Steve Harvey's recommendation to do the list and read it twice a day. So it kind of all, not one contradicts the other is what I'm trying to say,
Absolutely. You're right. They don't contradict because it's the way it works.
Yeah.
It's to get the belief implanted into the subconscious mind in such a way where your subconscious mind says, oh, for Francine, this is the new normal. This is what Francine is supposed to have in her, do and have in her life. That's not what's been normal. So let me wait. Let me continue to check this out. Let me see if Francine's serious about this. How do I know? Because she's going to tell me day after day after day, like a little kid. Mommy can have a cookie. Mommy can have a cookie. Mommy can have a cookie. Then eventually, all right, here's your freaking cookie. I'll go get it for you. I know that it's not, I'm being a little facetious, but your subconscious mind has accepted what it's accepted as current programming, probably based on the same thing. You know, I'm not, I don't want to keep repeating this over and over or something, but I'm broke, I'm sick, I'm poor, I'm poor. Don't do that. But that's what you've done at a subconscious level, allowed it in. So I don't mean you, Francine, specifically, but in a general sense, that's what's gone on. And he's saying, well, then decide. That's why we went over decision yesterday. And we don't like to decide things. We really don't. We may think we do, but we really don't like to make a decision and then stick with it. What we like to do is see if we can figure out how to get what we want and then decide. And that's actually the opposite of how it works. You decide to be, do, or have something. Then the way presents itself. And you have to make that decision. And within that decision, you utilize your will to hold that vision long enough and in a positive way to where finally the subconscious mind goes, I surrender. Okay, that's what's the new normal is, then fine, I'm going to go help you get it. And then it gets out of your way and it works for your betterment and your good, because your subconscious isn't going to decide good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just going to respond to what you give it.
So I have a question. So
okay.
and you've heard this, we've heard this many times, you have to be specific in what you want to have and all that. But like, for example, a car,
Mhm.
I don't have a specific requirement for a specific car.
Okay.
For example, I would not know the make and the model and everything like that. So I know, but I can keep it within a certain price range. And
Why the price range?
because it gives me the kind of type of car that I would want, So because if I keep it at a price range of 30,000, for example, versus 90,000, well,
Mhm.
you don't get the same kind of luxury in the car. And
Mhm.
so that's why I'm thinking price rather than make and model and all that, and I'm thinking,
Do you have a car right now?
yes, of course.
Okay, well, I don't know where different people live in cities that they
Sorry.
don't even use cars. That's why that's why I'm asking. What do you drive right now?
I drive a $38,000 car, bought it
Okay.
new.
Okay, cool. So you got it, I guess.
But now I now used to have a $60,000 car, and
Mhm.
now I'm like, well, I'd like to have a car that would be 85, 90,000, just like my boat. I would like to have a 85, $90,000 boat.
Okay.
So and I know the kind of boat, but I don't really know the kind of car. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So
Well,
does that make a difference? I mean, do you really have to be that specific on everything that you're requesting is what I want to get at.
okay. So what the specific being specific, okay. What that does for most people is it actually creates more energy, more excitement, and more faith as you do it. It becomes more real. In the case of maybe how you did it, you had a, and I'm not sure exactly why it's 38,000 a day and before it was 60 or whatever. I don't know what your thought process was that made that happen, because I don't know what you were thinking at the time. But it sounds to me like it, which is kind of cool. It's a different way of thinking about it, guys. Listening to what Francine is saying, is there's a lifestyle level of affluence. I'm just going to put it that way. There's a certain level that feels good to you, and a level below it just doesn't quite feel right. And maybe at least at the moment, a level way above that doesn't feel quite right either. But the feeling of what it is, of where you feel comfortable. Does that kind of make sense to you, Francine?
Yes.
Okay, so you're at a particular level, and if you're pleased with how your life is going, then you're gonna, you'll maintain that level at least of things, and whatever's required to receive those things, pay for those things, maintain those things. Um, And then you may go off and do other type things that aren't even related to money. But if you're looking at the 38 going, you know what, I think I did like the 60,000 a little better kind of thing, then you are in vibration with that. Now, whether or not that is there's all the different marks, right? But in a $60,000 range, you're typically, unless you're looking at big American SUVs, what you're usually looking at is European vehicles, probably the middle version of it versus the truly upper versions of them, because you're going to be well over 60.
Right. Let me just interrupt. I think I did not make myself clear. I used to drive a $60,000 car.
Yeah, but now you're not.
And then now I'm not, because that car was too big for me.
There you
But
go.
now I'm looking at, okay, let's go back to not driving such a big car, but maybe a little bit more luxurious than 60,000 or the 38,000. And that's why I'm aiming more like 85, 90,000.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
And yeah, and you don't always have to go bigger for it. They're not always bigger,
right.
right? Right. It's what you do is you go up in scale or in amenities and quality versus up in size.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, well, what I would recommend that you do, just go drive a few of them until you find one that you like. And sometimes with me, I've received exactly, meaning literally, um, everything about the car was the same, and it was given to me. And it was a $130,000 car. I've also had cars I've received, been very happy with, that were in the proximity, kind of what you're talking about, of what it was that I was looking for, because I had a feeling of how I would feel in the vehicle. But, the specific color and everything didn't matter to me at the time.
Right.
So being specific, though, for a lot of people, if somebody generically just says, I want a car, okay, that's, if you can drum up enough faith and energy and you see yourself having it, which for most people, that's not going to happen that way, because they won't generate that feeling of ownership and that feeling of using it, that makes it easier for it to manifest in somebody's life. The other thing too is the universe it doesn't really understand. It understands specifics better than generalities for people.
The more specific you are, the better it is.
Most likely, the more happy you will probably be with what you receive. I've got a good friend who's a coach, also like myself, and she had a client, and this client had written down that she wanted to hold X amount of money in her hand on a given date. And she put that out there, put that out there, did her thing, whatever. But interestingly enough, this was further on. What ended up happening is somehow her retirement account accidentally, inadvertently sent her money from the retirement account. So it was money that was already hers. And it ended up being in her hand, but then she had a problem. She needed to get it back in so there wouldn't be a penalty.
Right.
So she didn't have a purpose for the money other than she wanted to hold it in her hand. So one of the quickest ways for her to hold money in her hand was to take money that was already hers and have it sent to her. And that sounds funny, right? But that's exactly what happened. She didn't have a use for the money. So asking for the money, it was like, okay, well, I'll just bring it to you from whatever source. But then she had some stress and probably lost a little sleep over, now what do I do with it? Trying to put it back in. So, and again,
I've heard of people asking for money, and like you say, not being specific about it. So they were approved for a very high amount of money as a loan.
right, right. So the specific is always going to be more helpful. Let's put it that way. But it doesn't mean you won't receive anything in your life if you're not specific. We're receiving things throughout our life, most every day of our life, right? It's just they're not always on our list of something that's truly that important to us. So the world doesn't stop because we're not specific. we tend to attract to us that which is the essence of what it is we're vibrating. Okay.
Yeah.
And that vibration is created by our thoughts, which creates a feeling. That feeling is just the awareness of a particular vibration. If it's feeling good, you know that the vibration being put out is going to mirror back to you good. If it feels bad, you know the vibration going out over time would mirror back to you what is bad. So it gives us a chance before things manifest, if we're really paying attention to what's going on, to change it as quickly as we can when it's not a feeling that we like. Then that means some thought triggered that feeling. And if we keep allowing that to happen, or we let it happen repetitively, then we're going to go down a path and receive things we don't like. But if on the reverse side, if we're able to notice that that's happening, we could choose a different path, a different thought, and start going back down the track that we want to go. And as long as we are more feeling good than we're feeling bad about life, our life is going to unfold a lot more the way we want it to than the other.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have a question or comment? Thanks for both, Francine, comment and question, by the way.
I have a question.
Okie doke.
Neurolinguistic programming and quantum
NLP.
physics
Yeah.
are pretty critical in stabilizing your wants and needs by manifesting it. And we haven't talked about that too much with quantum physics, because that's what this is all about. And
Yeah.
I'd like to get your perspective on how to handle that with Richard Bandler's neurolinguistic programming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. Okay. This is cool. So here we got someone utilizing, and I appreciate that, more of the scientific, it's the same stuff being said, right? But it's in a more scientific way. Essentially, quantum physics is the science that will tell you what we're saying is true. That would be the scientists being able to back this up factually. There's an interesting thing called an observer effect. That's how we actually affect matter, and that's how we actually affect the energy that's out there. And it actually changes based on who's observing it too, and their beliefs and their thoughts. So that's a whole another interesting thing. So I'm not going to teach a quantum physics type class right now, but I will tell the people that are here that if you want to look at quantum physics, you can look up and study that. I like that today was meant about us being very, very simplistic about being able to say, hey, if you don't have, for somebody who's willing to accept on faith and doesn't need proof, follow this plan. It'll get you what you want. Now, most of us aren't going to be that accepting of it. I wish we were. We're just not little kids any longer. And we've had a lot happen in our life. So some of us, if we can see proof through scientific ways that what we're talking about isn't woo-woo, it's actually real, the real deal, then we'll accept it. And then the neurolinguistic programming is essentially saying, and I know there's more depth to it than, and again, not going to teach a class on that, but it's basically utilizing forms of affirmation and visualization to imprint on your subconscious mind what it is that you really want. So again, your subconscious mind will be more accepting of it instead of fighting you on receiving what you want. So that's another thing you can study too, is neurolinguistic programming. You can go down a lot of paths, and here's what I would tell you guys right here. The more you would suspend your disbelief, the less time it's going to take, and actually the less study you're going to have to go through before you start accepting that this actually works. The sooner you accept that it works without having to be proven to you that it works, the faster things are going to happen for you. If you have to go, I'm coaching somebody right now one-on-one who's doing a great job. But what I've had to do is he's spent so much time, he really, really has. He has spent so much time and so many years studying so many different modalities that he hadn't really just gotten around to going, well, go apply it then. I mean, he literally, it's like, you know what, you understand at a intellectual level this stuff, but you're still searching for more stuff. How are you on applying it? And it's not like nothing good had happened to this person in their life. They had some things, but it was like, hey, I needed to move them away from all of that for a little while, which was a challenge because they're so geared towards wanting that. And I said, hey, let's work on applying. So, little bits of homework to do to show to himself that he actually does manifest, not that you just read about it, not that the science exists, not that that it actually is real out there, but it has now become real to you. And now that it's become more real to him, money and things are showing up more quickly in his life. And he's like, okay, I still enjoy studying these types of things, but I recognize that, what, it was kind of a all horse, big hat, no cattle thing, right? I knew a lot of stuff, but I was fearful and doubtful in actually going and applying the process so that I could receive what I want. So he didn't have to go. The biggest change that had to go for him was to suspend his disbelief and to actually play with this and have a good time with it. He likes to have fun too. So I'm like, well, let's go manifest things that are fun. And he's manifested quite a few over the last few months we've been working together and been invited to do a lot of different things that are fun that he hadn't been doing in the past. So that was something I'm like, you like having a good time? Then one of the, and since you can easily imagine having a good time, let's go think of very specific things that you would like to have happen or go out and do. And he got focused on that. And again, some he chose on his own, but he got invited to do a lot of these things, and other people were willing to, pay for whatever it was that he wanted to go do. So it's been kind of cool for him. So you will see as we go through the laws, especially over the next week and a half or so, we'll get into a little more depth on science side of this thing. And that it will be, a way to help prove to you guys that this stuff is real. However, I don't even think any of you would be on this particular, training with us. And I know you've been with us a few days. If you didn't have some concept of, yeah, this stuff is real, what I really need to do is figure out how to make it apply for myself consistently. And that is what I want to help you do, is change the way that you see money and how you feel about money and wealth. There's many other things that can be wonderful that happen in your life. That just happens to be my focus in the way that I want to help you guys. So no, I mean, it would take, a while to train on those two things specifically. If I want to go down the whole thing of quantum physics and quantum mechanics and whatnot, I'll let the material that we go through, which again, this next week and a half or so will be a little bit more geared towards that. But I found that once you know about these things, if you're still not getting what you want, I think people get tripped up over the science of it sometimes, because you would think it would give them a lot more faith in the process, but sometimes it just doesn't do that for people.
Well, it's vibrational. Everything is vibration and quantum physics. And
Yes.
if you have that vibration, and which is what you're trying to teach people, is that you thoughts are things, and if you manifest these things, you're creating a vibration which you eventually will get. But a lot of times people expect results overnight, and the vibration may take a little bit longer to achieve the outcome of what you're asking for. So some people get impatient, and
Absolutely.
then it makes it difficult. Makes it
Yeah.
difficult because you have to. There's no boundary on when you're going to get it. You will get it, but you may not get it today or tomorrow. And if you watch The Secret, the guy manifested a house, and he didn't even realize that he had manifested the house that he just bought. His son asked what was in the
John,
box.
I've met John Asaraf.
Yeah. His son says, "What's in here?" And he said, "These are my vision boards." And he opened them up and said, and it had the house that he had manifested, and he didn't even know it. So sometimes you forget what you've manifested for, but it's all vibrational. It's what they call the law of entanglement.
Yeah.
Everything is interrelated. And if you're around like people doing the same things that you want to be, then you will manifest all that stuff. So I'm a big fan of this. It's just my problem is motivation and figuring out how to get from point A to point B.
Um, the how clear are you on what you want? And just straight up, how decisive have you been, and how clear are you on the things that you want?
Well, I'm pretty clear, but I've been struggling with how to get started. I want to do an alternative healing website, and my biggest problem is what do I need to get from point A to point B, and I'm not getting that answer. I struggle with that,
Mhm.
and that's
You're
where
not getting the answer because you're focused on the how.
well, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, yeah. So this is what's get most people get stuck with. So I appreciate the fact, by the way, that you've decided that you want certain things, right? To either be, do, or have. So you definitely you have this. In other words, some people won't even write it down because they don't know how. So they won't even bother to write down that they want it. You've gotten to the point where you now understand scientifically and also in your belief system that this stuff works. Okay. What you haven't accepted um, is the ease with which you can actually receive it. And you haven't gotten particularly good at being able to drum up the inspiration, revelation, intuition is maybe as quickly or easily as you'd like, that tells you this is the next step to go take, make a left turn here when normally you would have made a right turn, kind of thing. And the way that that's going to change is you've got to take what it is that you want. So give me just an example with, just something that you want and you've wanted for a while and you wish it would have manifested much earlier already, but it just hasn't. Just give me one thing.
It's the website I'm trying to design to start my business going.
Okay, but that's I'm going to propose to you possibly that it's not the what is the website? In other words, okay, now you got the website and that's good to go. Then what are you hoping the website will produce for you?
Um, I'm looking at it to uh, develop a following where
Okay,
people will
so you,
start.
a
Well,
following is what you want, not a website.
well,
I'm not saying you don't get a website or need a website. I'm saying, but you want a following that can interact with you, and the website's a tool to do that.
correct.
Okay. What you want is a following, though. Why do you want a following? Let's take it a step further. What's this following and what's it about?
Well, I want to have a following of people that are trying to find their if they have chronic disease or illness, or if they have a friend or family that's got cancer, that they use the following as a resource that I can redirect them to alternative healing methods that would be outside the Western medicine philosophy.
Okay. So the people that you like to have follow you are people that would be open to that modality of healing.
Correct.
Okay, cool. So when you think about this whole thing and you visualize things going on or whatever, what is it that you're trying to visualize?
Say that again.
As you think about what it is that you want,
Uh-huh.
and you go in, and maybe you don't, I don't know for sure that you do this or not. When you take time to meditate or visualize what's going on in relationship to all of this, what is the image you have in your mind?
Well, I don't quite have a good image of that right now.
Mhm. I
That
know.
I think you're perceptive in understanding that. I'm not.
Yeah.
That's where I'm struggling.
Uh-huh. So let me share with you what I would actually go through from a vision. And let's go back to the whole John Assaraf vision board got the house thing. And let's even go back to the movie The Secret with Jack Canfield, because somebody asked yesterday or the day before, whatever it was, about, the money and $100,000 or whatever, right? What people are missing, that each of these people, and James Ray, all of these people, I've actually physically met a lot of the teachers on The Secret been introduced to them through people like Bob, and Sharon Lecter introduced me to Mark Victor Hansen. And I got to meet on the John Assaraf, James Ray, and Laurel Langmeyer all at the same time at a particular. So I've met a lot of the people on The Secret. And when you actually get to know what's going on behind how they manifested what it is, and that's what's unfortunate about The Secret, is it's too short to actually tell you that. But it was their imagination that they utilized and living in their life as if the result existed already. Like, yeah, he set the goal for $100,000. This is going back to Jack Canfield. But, and then he says, and here's what I did. And everybody skips the here's what I did part. They're like, he set a goal for 100,000. He wrote a check. He stuck it above his bed. And it sounds like, it just happened. Not what he said that was more important than all the other stuff. It wasn't the check above, it helped. It wasn't the goal of 100,000 as much it helped. What he did daily, though, is he envisioned himself living $100,000 lifestyle, what he thought that would be like, because he hadn't experienced it yet. But he was able to use his imagination to guess and feel and live as if he was earning $100,000. And so then that's why people want the money goal. Is then he goes, I didn't quite hit it. I hit like 94,000 or 96,000, blah, blah, blah. He says, was I upset? It's like, no, this is amazing. Then my wife and I looked at each other. You think this could work for $1 million? And Jack Canfield goes, I don't know. Let's try it. And that sounds not very confident necessarily. But what he did is he had then upped his vision of living in his mind what $1 million lifestyle would be like. And then he got the inspiration, and that's where Chicken Soup for the Soul sold. But the other one that got him to 100,000 was a different article. But he also said, I did that for about 90 days and nothing really happened. And then I got this thought that, hey, if this particular book, it wasn't Chicken Soup for the Soul, if I sold X number of these at this price and I got to keep, I forget the amount. It was only like a quarter a piece or something. If I sold 400,000 of these, that would be $100,000. And then he had this feeling about, he's walking in a store and he walks past the National Enquirer, and it kind of drew to him. And then several days later, somebody asked to interview him and talk to him, and he's like, oh, she's like, yeah, I'm a reporter, but I mainly write for the National Enquirer. And he's like, ding, do, 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 do. But the point was, it was him living the lifestyle in his imagination that made all these other things unfold. So I recommend for you personally, if it sounds like you have a heart for helping these people heal. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. So then what you should do is quit picturing not saying you don't get a website or have a phenomenal website or whatever, right? What you need to do, though, in my opinion, is this. Your imagination, at least morning and night, in the middle of the day, if you could find some time to do it, I would do it then too, is take 5, 10 to 15 minutes right before you get out of bed and right before you fall asleep, and imagine yourself doing whatever it is that you would be doing if you were healing people or you were training others as healers or whatever. In other words, take this thing out towards the end result, which is what it might be is your end result could be you just received the invitation to speak to a group because your practice for healing is one of the most successful, largest, impactful practices on the planet. And the highest, best known people in that field invited you to be the keynote speaker at an event. That's just an example of what you could do. Picture, in other words, if it had already happened, if what you want to have happen had already happened, what are some of the cool things you would have experienced in the process now as a result? You'd be well known, you would have a following of how many people, you would be speaking, let's say COVID's over now and you're being invited to travel and speak if that's what you want to do.
Exactly.
right? Picture
Yeah.
yourself locking arms with the other people in these fields that are the top of the top of the top, and they're actually coming to you for advice.
Yeah, that's exactly where I want to be.
That's what you need to spend time thinking about, imagining, and feeling, and trust that by doing that, you will receive the inspiration, intuition, and revelation necessary to know the next step to take, and then the next step to take. Like Jack Canfield said, with the car and the headlights, you can only see so far. And we
Yeah.
definitely, if I'm trying to go from San Diego, California to New York City, and I'm waiting for all the lights to turn green and stay green, I'll never go.
Yeah.
Right. Or if I'm driving in the dark, my headlights will only let me see so far if there's no street lights. But as long
Right.
as my headlights keep working, I can keep going, right?
Yeah.
What will happen is that feeling, the emotionalizing and visualizing and imagination and feeling will keep you locked and in tune with the universe. And because you're so focused that way, it will, anything and everything related to what you really want will vibrate with you. And now things that you didn't see around you will come into sight for you. It's kind of like food. If I go into a city I've never been to before, and I decide I want to eat Mexican food as I'm driving down the middle of town where all the restaurants might be,
Huh.
I don't notice pizza shops and Chinese food shops because my antenna are strictly up for Mexican food. But man, if there's something related to Mexican food, I'll find it because that's what I'm in tune with. Even though there's 50 places I pass to go eat something, because my focus is Mexican food, I won't see all these other types of restaurants unless somebody else in the car decides that they want to eat something else too, and they want Chinese food. Well, now their senses are open to finding Chinese food, while my senses are open to finding Mexican food.
I'm almost of the opinion I need a life coach to keep me on that path, to keep reminding me that of these things, because then I I have good direction for a while, and then I
Mhm.
lose that direction and need to have somebody say, you forgot to do this, or you forgot to do that, or have you done this? And this is where my biggest frustration is, because I I know all this stuff, but I can't keep it all in my head.
I know. That's why I've got coaches for myself too still. And Bob Proctor has coaches even. And that's why I wouldn't consider myself a life coach. Um, what I am though, my gift is helping people utilize the law of attraction when it comes to making a lot more money and to overcoming blockages around wealth. I've helped with other things. I just got a message from somebody that I coach that wanted me to help them with relationship, and they're getting married in a few days. So after working with them about 6 months on it. Um, but that's just because I understand the process. But what I especially am good at is helping people when it comes to money and wealth and entrepreneurship and business, because that's just where I have the most experience with it.
I understand.
Yeah, so I'm available. I've made myself available for that. If you want to message me and have a discussion about it, it's not
Well,
free.
I'd like to do that just to kind of ground myself and get
Yeah.
a little bit better direction. Because as I said, I'm just not getting the direction and the flow. And I've been
Okay.
working on this for almost a year now, and I'm not getting the results that I'm envisioning.
Okay. Do you have something to write with right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me give you my email address and go ahead and message me and we'll set up a conversation.
Okay.
It's simple, Coach in front of my name, Kevin Sparks. So just as one word, Coach Kevin Sparks @gmail.
Okay.
And yeah, message, we'll set a time to discuss things. I'll get to know you better and what you really want to accomplish, a little more about your background and whatnot. And if it makes sense for you, awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm perfect for a lot of people, but every once in a while there's somebody out there where it's like, there's somebody else that might be better for that than me.
Yeah. I'm in Colorado, and it sounds like you're either in California or Arizona.
Yeah, I'm in California. I'm that guy I was talking about, funny enough, coaching. He's in Denver,
Oh, okay.
or the Denver area, I should say.
Yeah, I'm in Castle Rock, Colorado, which isn't too far from Denver.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm a bit over for today. This has been actually enjoyable. Well, it's always enjoyable. Um, but this has been fun, and I look forward to, getting back with everybody on Monday and going more in depth into the laws, not just the law of attraction, but the other universal laws that are related to helping us receive what we want. So everybody have an awesome, wonderful, amazing weekend. You all got to hear my email address, obviously. So if you feel so inclined to talk about, coaching or something like that, reach out to me. Just please don't use it to spam me. Okay. All right, everybody. We will see you next week.